This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, my clock just switched over. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for the Haslet City Council for Monday, April 19th. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. We do have a quorum present, and I'd like to ask the Mayor Pro Tem to lead us in a prayer.
Sure. Father, thank you for the freedom we enjoy tonight as we come together again to assess the items before us. We ask you to grant us the wisdom to act in the best interest of all the citizens of Haslet. We also ask for your continued protection of our city staff, our first responders, our teachers, our residents, our school administrators, our school board members, and even our auditors as we attempt to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic that risks the health of so many of us. We also ask for your blessings as we move forward from tonight's meeting. Amen.
Y'all stand and please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A couple of housekeeping things here on the virtual meetings best practices. I'll just run through these real quick. 3A, please be sure that your microphone is muted when you first join the meeting, as well as when you are not speaking. This cuts down on the background noise and feedback for everyone. 3B, during video conference and teleconference meetings, the purpose of the chat function is to have a list for the chair to recognize speakers and for communicating technical difficulties or malfunctions. The chat is not for conversations during official meetings. 3C, participants should be sure that they are recognized by the meeting chair to speak and state their name and address prior to speaking. Number 4, citizens' participation and comments. Do we have any at this time, Ms. Diana?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I have a representative from Alamo Fireworks who has asked to address council. If the speaker would please identify their name and address.
My name is Chelsea Bodie.
And your address for the record, please.
7760 US Highway 87 East, San Antonio, Texas, 78263.
You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We've been incorporated since 1962. We sell fireworks all over the state of Texas. We currently have about 200 locations, about 25% of which are located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Last July 4th, our location here in Haslet, which was 2 mobile stands, did over $260,000 in net sales. At a tax rate of 8.25%, that's over $21,000 in taxes that we brought in. This is the location we were trying to build a permanent storefront. Typically, revenue almost doubles when converting a location from stands to stores because your capacity or shelf space more than triples. With July 4th being on a Sunday this year, meaning most people have a 3-day weekend, and the lifting of many COVID-based regulations, we're preparing for a record-setting season. If we hit our projected sales of $600,000, we would be bringing in almost $50,000 in taxable revenue. I say all of this because we want you to know that we want to be an asset to your community. We've built close to 40 mega stores in dozens of different counties, and we know each one has its own unique set of rules and regulations. We always work with professional contractors, and we work hard to ensure that we are compliant. However, we seem to have run into a few snags in our process of building here in Haslet. We bought a 1 acre out of a 3.6 acre tract of land. We got a plat done on the 1 acre and began work in conjunction with submitting that plat application to Haslet. We were initially unaware that a grading permit was required prior to the site work being started. We were informed that we needed a grading permit and were instructed to stop work. We failed to communicate that effectively to our general contractors, but subsequently applied for the grading permit. We were then issued a grading permit. After we were given the grading permit, we were told that it was issued in error and we needed the preliminary plat approved in order for the permit to be valid. We responded and acknowledged to that. However, new engineering work was now required. This work would take about a week to complete. Due to our ineffective communication, site work was still ongoing and we were issued a stop work order, which we complied with. We then submitted our preliminary plat application on April 5th. On Friday, April 19th at 3:22, we received the response on the plat application with comments requiring minor adjustments. None of those adjustments addressed or impact the actual structure that we are building. The letter we received said we had until April 27th by noon to address the comments. However, we had a phone call with city staff who told us those comments would need to be addressed and resubmitted by 4 p.m. that same day to make it to the paper in order to abide by the ordinances regarding platting. It was impossible to meet that deadline based on the necessary redraw of the plats, but we did submit the revised preliminary and final plats at 11 a.m. this morning. Because we are a seasonal business, we can only sell for 24 days out of the year, and the day of the week the holiday falls on drastically impacts our sales. Time is of the essence. We need to be fully operational before the selling season begins on June 24th. We're hoping we might be able to get a grading permit granted in lieu of plat approval so that we could begin working with the clear understanding that we would be fully responsible for any additional feedback or corrections that were to arise.
Ma'am,
We
I'm
know
sorry,
you-
your 3 minutes is up. So if you would just make a closing statement
Yes, ma'am.
in 1 sentence, your time is up, okay?
Yes, ma'am. We know that you want to be business friendly because revenue for us is tax dollars for you, and we want to be good members of the community. So even though we know that errors were made on both ends, we take full responsibility for our mistakes in the communication process. And we are not asking you to approve plats outside of your normal process, but we hope you'll consider allowing us to continue work while the preliminary and final plat processes run their course. We would like an opportunity to make this right and be good quality neighbors and partners with you.
Thank you, ma'am. As this item is not on our agenda, I don't believe we're not at liberty to make any responding comments at this time, but thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other citizens' participation and comments, Diana?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ryder Warren, Superintendent of the Northwest Independent School District. And before you start, Dr. Warren, I do want to applaud you publicly. The city belongs to an organization called the Northeast Leadership Forum, and it has an education foundation which each year bestows scholarships on graduating seniors from high school seniors in 4 different districts, plus the Westlake Academy. This year, there were approximately 120 applications received. We had over half of that 120 received were from the Northwest Independent School District alone. Over 60 of the 120 were from our district alone. That means that the other 3 districts and Westlake Academy, you know, were coming up behind. And I just wanted to applaud Dr. Warren and everybody involved for your efforts to make that happen, for advertising that and making those opportunities available to our seniors. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, you're welcome, Mayor. And Mayor, I'll compliment you and the council and the city as a whole for being part of that group. We really do appreciate it. We just appreciate any group like that that supports kids. We're going to be all over. So we really do appreciate that leadership from your part. All right. Well, good to see everybody. One of these days, guys, we may be able to see each other face to face again, and we're counting the days down to be able to do that. I don't know if you know this or not, council, but I think Haslet City Council was one of the first city council meetings I attended 5 years ago when I started here. So I really do appreciate this group. Of course, we live down there, and we really do appreciate it. I'm actually, you know, the modern technology. I'm actually doing this presentation from Austin. I've been in Austin all day. begging with our state legislators. I'm going to do it again tomorrow, trying to get some good decisions made. But we're very glad to come here with us. Okay, let me see. Diana, can I share my screen?
Yes, sir. You are the presenter now.
Okay. The little share wheel is not lit. It's letting me do that though.
Okay. Do you see the button that looks like the screen with the line across it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Press on
How's,
that.
how's that?
And then it should let you share your screen. There we go.
Can we see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so Mayor, Council, again, great to see you. Glad to be with you again today. As I go through my district update, of course, a lot of the update is about our bond coming up. But if you have any questions, just stop me, and I'll do that. And then at the end, I'll shut up and I'll do my best to answer any of your questions. If I know the answer, great. If I don't, I will definitely find out the answer and get back to you. All right, Council, if you've not seen this in a while, this is NISD. Very unusual district, this part of the world. Number one is we by far we're one of the largest geographic districts in this area. As of not this school year, but last school year, we got into the top 10 fastest growing districts in the state. Right now, we're the 8th fastest growing districts in the state. This year, 30 campuses. Next year will be 31 campuses. When we open Berkshire Elementary School off of 287, we'll have 31 next fall. And of course, very proud to represent our 14 different towns and communities over the 3 different counties. So that is us. To combat that growth, on February the 8th, this couple months ago, our NISD Board of Trustees and Council, I believe I saw 2 board members here with us. I believe Mark Schluter is on. Mark's a longtime board member. And then our newest board member, Jennifer Murphy, is on the call with us tonight too. Mark, Jennifer, thanks for being here. So we voted to call, the board voted to call a $745.7 million bond election. And of course, this is a year out. Originally, we had called a bond for 2020, and of course, COVID hit. And so we went back to the drawing board, tried to do it in November. That did not work out. And then now we've coming back to our voters with the $745 million. And folks, that's really our biggest challenge right there. Looking at every bit of data that we've been looking over for the last several months, we think we're going to be just north of 27,000 kids this coming fall. And you can see the growth as it goes. We are averaging still between 11 to 1,200 new students a year. Going to be really close to 40,000 by the end of the decade. And so this is what this bond tries to do. It tries to make available 5,000 new seats by the end of 24-25. As I explained to you last year when I came to you with this presentation, these are the pre-selected propositions that the Texas State Legislature created for all Texas school districts. School boards in Texas no longer can organize the bonds as they see fit. These are 4 pre-selected categories that the legislature came up with in 2019, and each project in the bond has to fit within one of these 4 propositions. So the vast majority of our bond is in Proposition A. That's for school facilities and capital improvements. Any work that needs to be done on any district stadium, whether they be an NISD or anywhere, if a school calls a bond to either build a new stadium or renovate a new stadium, for us, it's renovation. That has to be in Prop B. Anything that we need now as a recreational facility, that's not a stadium. So anything that we would need to do to a school would need that would need to create some recreational facilities. I'll give you the example that in Proposition A, we are asking for a new middle school there in Laterra. If we are able through the passage of Prop A to build middle school number 7 for our families, the track, the tennis courts, the fields, all that would have to be approved through Proposition C. So that's how the legislature separated those projects, even though it's at the same campus. And then any device that we buy, any technology that we purchase for our children or our staff, mostly our teachers, would need to be in Prop D. So that's how we have that is our projects and how they have been placed into those 4 state mandated propositions. Going down into the weeds just a little bit more, Proposition A, you can see the vast majority of it is just dealing with our growth, folks. 6 new schools, elementary 22 and 23, middle school 7, replacement schools for Hatfield, 7 Hills, and a replacement school for Pike Middle School. Really a lot of work for Northwest High School, additions and renovations. Work at our elementary schools to add more pre-kindergarten classrooms, capital improvements, just infrastructure work, equity needs, just making sure all of our schools are equitable and equal in the same instructional space as every one of the rest of our schools, safety and security, and then again the technology infrastructure. All that is Proposition A, which is $712 million. And again, going a little bit more detail, when I came to you and talked to you in 2016 and 2017 about the bond of 2017, elementary 20 and 21 were in the 2017 bond. This will be for 22 and 23. These schools will either be in the first one will either be in up north in the North Lake area. That area is exploding. Or we'll put another elementary school in the 287 area, exactly around the area where we're putting the new Berkshire, but we're getting so many families in there. And then elementary school 23 will be in the other area. If we choose North Lake for 22, 23 will probably be in the 287 area, and then vice versa if we make the other decision. Middle school number 7, of course, Laterra. We already have the brand new Haslet Elementary School. Very proud to put that in place. I believe I saw Melissa Weber, principal of Haslet Elementary School there. So we're very proud to be able to establish another school in the Haslet area. And guys, very much needed because the space that we have at Adams Middle School and Wilson Middle School is dwindling quickly. So this will be a really good addition for us to take kids off of both of those campuses at middle school number 7. And then those are the other 3 propositions. Most of Prop B, if you've been in the district a while, our big district, our main stadium is NISD Stadium, but we have a second stadium we call Texan Stadium, and that is right across the street from NISD Stadium. It is actually the original stadium we had in the district. It was Texan Stadium when Northwest High School was the only high school there. It has become our track and field complex. A lot of the middle schools use it for their home field, but it's 70 years old. It was created in 50, so we need to do some work on the bleachers, the press box, restrooms, turf, just about everything in there we need to update. Proposition C, as I told you, if middle school number 7 is approved, we will create athletic facilities for middle school number 7, tennis courts, track. We also would like to resurface 4 other tennis courts at 4 other middle school campuses and create a tennis court at Medlin Middle School there in the Trophy Club. Medlin is our only middle school that doesn't have tennis courts of their own. And then there's Proposition D, as I told you, new devices for students and teachers and replacements and enrollment growth. You've heard me talk before that most school districts in the state of Texas have 2 different tax rates. We have the larger of the 2 would be the maintenance and operation tax, the M&O. That is for everything we do daily. Mostly from that tax, we pay our staff, our salaries, our benefits, but we also pay our utilities, program expenses, fuel, everything like that. The money we generate from M&O, it goes for daily operations. When a school district has passed a bond and has sold the bonds and has obtained debt, our yearly mortgage payment comes out of the INS. The interest and sinking, that's what we do. All the new construction renovations, that comes from the INS bucket, and it is this school year it is 42 cents. And I'm very happy to report if the bond of 2021 passes, the $745 million pass, there will be no change to the INS tax rate. People ask me all the time, how can that be? That's a lot of money. Number one is, of course, we're not going to sell all that debt at one time. We only sell about 150 to maybe 200 million of that at a time a year to keep up with our build schedule. Plus, we have very strong construction. We have very strong growth in the area, which means our taxable values are very solid. Our board of trustees, both Mark and Jennifer, with this board and the boards of the past, have made some excellent decisions about refinancing old debt. So we have paid down a lot of debt over the last several years. And so we are in a very strong financial stance on that INS side to make sure that whether the bond passes or not, we will still be at 42 cents. I put this in there just to show you NISD is actually at a 10-year low for its total tax rate. The bottom number in maroon is the is the M&O rate. It's been $1.04 for a long time. And then in 2019, after the passage of HB3 actually mandated that all public schools start lowering their M&O rate. So we've been lowering that the last couple of years. It'll be lowered again next year. The numbers in the gray show you our INS rate, and we were at 41 cents, then we went up to 45 cents. Well, this last year, our board did the analysis of how much it would cost us to both pay down old debt and pay for if this bond was passed, and we actually were able to do that with 3 less pennies. So the board, our school board, voted to lower that side of our tax rate by 3 pennies. So we're at $1.33 total, whereas we've been at $1.45, $1.49 for a long time. So we're hopefully that'll make sure people understand. They'll probably, whether the bond, even if the bond passes, the total tax rate will probably go down again because of House Bill 3. We will drop the M&O rate again. So there are that's the actual ballot language for all 4 propositions. When you go vote, not if you vote, but when you go vote, you'll need to vote 4 times for each proposition, for or against. Remember the mandated statement that the state law now requires is that this is a property tax increase. The legislature wants everybody to realize that we will be taking on more debt. We'll be building new schools and taking that under us. But again, we're going to be able to do so without the tax rate increase. Early voting actually started today. It goes through the 27th, and then the actual election day is May 1st. Those of us who live in Tarrant County, those are our early voting. Jill and I, my wife and I, usually vote in the old Haslet elementary school we have every year, so that's where we like to go. There's election day voting locations for Tarrant County. You can go all of those, and then if you really, really want to do your research into our bond, we've set up a wonderful website, nistxbond.org. And so every group that I talk to, I always include the schools that are closest to them. So for Haslet leadership, here are your schools. Of course, Haslet Elementary doesn't need much, but you've got to remember, even though it just opened, it was designed more than 3 years ago. So we are going to add, from Proposition A, we are going to add some playground equity and safety equipment. We've done some, we wanted to do some upgrades across the district, especially for our kids that may have some special needs and maybe some special physical needs, to make sure that as much of our playgrounds is accessible to them. So we're going to do work on that if approved. And of course, all kids will get Proposition D, the technology. Wilson Middle School, see work done from Prop A, C, and D. C is one of those. They've got one of those tennis courts that needs resurfacing. Eaton High School, and I think I saw Stacy Miles, our principal at Eaton, on the call as well. And Stacy will get Proposition A and Proposition D if that is approved. And then we have kids, of course, kids across the district go to Still Accelerated. Still Accelerated is in Roanoke, but that's an open enrollment school, and the kids apply to go there. And so they come from all over the district. So they're going to get work from Prop A and Prop D. Okay. So, folks, I'm going to stop sharing. And okay, I can see you now. So again, appreciate you allowing us to come on and talk about this. Can I answer any questions from you?
Anyone have any questions for Dr. Warren? I think that means a solid yes on all 4 bond propositions.
I can't believe y'all are really going to be this easy on me. Well, guys, as I tell you, every time we meet face to face, and anytime from now yonder, we love this relationship that the district has with the city. We appreciate you guys stepping up as leaders in your community, leaders of our school district. And if there's anything Haslet ever needs that the district can supply support for, the only thing you got to do is ask. We will do everything that we can do. Y'all have been very supportive of us in the past, and we are going to do the same thing for you always. So just appreciate you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Appreciate it.
Right.
And also the board members and the principals. Thank everybody for being here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Okay, next up we have presentation of the 2020 audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2020 by La Follette and Company PLLC. Is that you, Susan?
Yes.
You have the floor, ma'am.
Okay. I guess I'm going to share my screen. Is if I just click this, I can do that.
You should be able to do that now.
Okay. Share should be coming on. Okay. I'm going to get this thing rolling. I need to get this one button. Okay. Here we go. Okay. As everyone said, this is the 2020 annual financial report. And tonight's agenda is we'll go over the objectives and scope of the audit, the financial report, financial highlights, overview of the audit results, required governance communications, management recommendations, and closing remarks. Our objective, of course, was to conduct an audit in accordance with government auditing standards. We also conducted a single audit in accordance with uniform guidance. And we plan to perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. We did do a full scope audit of the governmental activities, your business type activities, component units, and each major fund. In your bound report, I'm not sure if you've received those yet or not, but it's basically the financials. I'd like to go over the sections that are in there so that you'll know. Pages 1 and 2 are the independent auditor's report. Then comes management discussion and analysis, which is basically an overview of the financial results of the city. Pages 10 through 11 are the government-wide financial statements, which are prepared on a full accrual basis. The fund financial statements begin on page 12. The notes to the financial statements are pages 20 through 44. There is required supplementary information in there at 46 and 51. Other supplementary information 53 through 72. And then there is a supplementary section that's required by the single audit. And this is something that's a little bit new for the city. There is 2 reports in there, a report on internal controls over financial reporting on compliance and other matters based on an audit in accordance with government auditing standards, and an auditor's report on compliance with each major program based on an audit under uniform guidance. We have your schedule of expenditures of federal awards and schedule of findings and question costs. We'll start with the government-wide financial statements on page 10. At the end of the year, the city's net position was $45,274,380. Overall, that is a net increase of $7.5 million or 20%. 1.9 of the increase is due to grants and contributions. Also on page 10, the unrestricted net position of the city is $9,658,025. The unrestricted portion is an important thing to look at because that is the portion that's not already spoken for in some other manner. And that did increase by $746,383 or 8.4% during the year. On page 12, we'll focus on the general fund. At the end of the year, the general fund had unassigned fund balances of $6,723,169, and that was an increase of $1.1 million. These funds can be used to meet the city's ongoing obligations, and it does represent a very healthy 1.9-year reserve when 3 to 6 months is the minimum recommendation. The general fund revenues, as shown on page 14, were $5,542,000 at the end of the year, which was a decrease of $1.6 million. And mostly that decrease was due to decreased building permits from developers. The general fund overall did have an increase in fund balances of $1,146,137 as shown on page 14. Next, we'll go to the water fund, and that's on page 16. The unrestricted net position of the city was $5,033,731 at the end of the year, and that over $2,420,360 last year. And that does represent 22 months of reserves, which can be used to take care of the fund's ongoing obligation. The total net position also did increase by $3,886,956. A lot of that increase was due to $2.8 million increase in non-recurring developer contributions. So it was a big 30% increase for the year. Our audit report was an unmodified audit report, clean opinion. There's only standard language in there, so that's what you want. We did have, in conjunction with our government auditing standards report, there is one finding which is sort of a two-part finding, and it was considered a material weakness primarily due to the large size of the adjustment, but it all basically focused on the reimbursed costs. They were recorded as a reduction of expense last year rather than as revenue, and that did require a prior period adjustment this year. And then also one of the projects was not recorded on an accrual basis, which is required. Both of these things are very easily fixed. In fact, I think management has pretty well addressed them. If you look on page 80 of the report, there is a summary of the complete finding as well as management's response. We did also do the single audit report on compliance of the major program and found no material weakness findings or question costs there. The other items I'd like to cover are our letters. The first one is required governance communication letter, and everything in there is standard except for I would like to draw your attention to attachment 1 was all of the audit adjustments that we found and were posted and accepted by management. And attachment 2 were various immaterial uncorrected adjustments that we just track as we find, but they're not a big deal. We did come up with a few recommendations that we have for management, and basically the first one centered around year-end closing and just being sure that everything is taken care of there during the closing process, and then the use of capital outlay accounts. And these were discussed and accepted with management. With that being said, I'd really like to thank James Quinn and Marcy Lamb. They were really very, very helpful, and we appreciate that. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Any questions or comments from council? Looks like a pretty good audit to me.
Yes.
So I would say well done to Jim and Marcy, the two folks that were highlighted right there at the end. So congratulations on a great audit.
Mayor, I would like to particularly thank Marcy. She does 99% of it, and she does a great job.
Thank you, sir. Well, let's go on to 6B.
Mayor.
Discuss. Go ahead.
I would just like to say thank you to Susan and all of her staff. They're very informative. They're very easy to get along with. They are very thorough and very thoughtful in implementing new things, and appreciate all their comments on ways we can improve the process.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if no one else has any thoughts, then let's go to 6B. Discuss, consider, and act to accept the annual financial audit for the period of October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020. Anyone have any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the annual audit.
This is Councilmember Morrow. I make a motion to accept the annual financial audit for the period of October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2020.
Is there a second?
Coburn, second.
Coburn, thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Let's do a roll call vote. Warren Robb,
Aye.
Harold Williams,
Aye.
Jessica Clark,
Aye.
Tricia Hilborn,
Aye.
Tanya Morrow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Items of community interest, there's several to run through. 7A, early voting will be held April 19th through April 27th for the May 1, 2021 general election at the former Haslet Elementary School, 501 Schoolhouse Road. Voting on election day, May 1st, will be held at the same location from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7B, the groundbreaking ceremony for the Alliance Texas Haslet Accessibility Improvement Project, aka Haslet Parkway, will be held on Thursday, April 29th, 2021 at 9:30 at 230 South Intermodal Parkway, Haslet. Please wear a mask and observe social distancing. Michael Morris has agreed to be our MC, and we're really looking forward to getting that groundbreaking ceremony. 7C, annual spring cleanup event will be Saturday, May 8th from 8 to noon behind the fire station. There's a flyer for that. The city of Haslet, 7D, the city of Haslet's been notified that of 595 cities with members in the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, TMCA, the Haslet City Secretary's office is one of 43 to receive the Award of Excellence this year. And there's a copy of that letter of excellence. And congratulations to Diana for that accomplishment. 7E, the Northwest ISD Middle School Track and Field, available for community use after hours. The middle school tennis courts were open previously for after-hour use. Any quick comments, questions about the items for community interest? If not,
Mayor,
go ahead.
For the benefit of people who might be attending this evening who don't know who Mr. Morris is, will you just tell us his title and what the organization he's with, and how that organization is involved in Haslet Parkway?
Michael Morris is the Transportation Director for the North Central Texas Council of Governments. That's the 14-county metropolitan planning organization. And I'm going to simplify this really grossly. When federal money comes into the 14-county area, It's doled out by the Regional Transportation Council, and Michael Morris is the confidant, the person that leads them through those discussions when they're doling out that federal money. It was Michael Morris and his staff that were most singularly responsible for us being tagged to apply for the $20 million build grant for our Haslet Parkway project. And I think he's real excited to see this east-west transportation improvement take place, as are, I think, most of us. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, let's go on to monthly reports. Anyone have any questions or comments about any of the monthly reports? Okay, hearing none, let's go to staff reports to update on active items, projects, and event recaps. 9A, update on the coronavirus COVID-19 issues. Jim and the chief, I think.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to keep this one short. We're still in phase 2 of opening Haslet. If you remember at the last council meeting, we discussed the possibility of opening Haslet on May 1st. After listening to your comments and monitoring the positivity rate for COVID in Tarrant County, which is currently at 6%, and our goal was 5%, Mr. Quinn and I agree that we should stick to the original projected date of June 1 to fully reopen Haslet. At that point, again, boards and commissions will always have the flexibility to determine if they want to do in-person meetings or continue to do remote meetings. Rob, do you have an update?
Evening, Mayor and Council. I have nothing new to add. I sent you all an email. The governor extended the statewide disaster declaration COVID-19 at the beginning of this month, which will carry through to the beginning of May, when we'll have to relook at what is done there. But I don't have anything new to add unless y'all have any questions for me.
Any questions of the chief or Rob? Okay, let's go to 9B, the Alliance Texas Haslet Accessibility Improvement Project Monthly Report for March. Thad?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll take the first part of this one and answer any questions, and then Travis will get construction. On the project financing, again, we have an existing construction advance funding agreement that is executed with TxDOT. City staff is still engaged with both TxDOT and COG to get to the amendment for that AFA to make sure that the funding matches our build obligations that we had from the original application. So that work is ongoing. We hope to have it resolved soon because we still have not transferred money to TxDOT, and that is required as part of the AFA, and construction has started. Phase 2 right-of-way is on schedule with our management plan. We continue to work through the processes, and again, we'll discuss that a little bit later in the meeting. There's not a whole lot to publicly discuss on that right-of-way process. And then you already mentioned the groundbreaking event. One thing that changed, we have a great location that did not exist. When we had first talked about this, of course, COVID delayed us originally, and now we have a location for this groundbreaking event, ceremonial, of course, because they started on the southeast corner of Intermodal Commerce Park, looking over the entire site. Basically, you'll be able to see the intermodal extension piece as well as the connection to 35. So again, that didn't exist prior to, and the school district was very gracious in offering us the elementary school parking lot, but the logistics there were a little tough and you couldn't see any of the construction or activity from there. So this was a change that we thought it was the right time to have an outdoor event where we can follow all safety protocols and get the marketing that we were also hoping for with the project, so we can get that commercial development rolling. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Thad? Okay, let's go on to 9C then, the ATHAIP monthly report construction. Is this Travis?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Work officially started at the end of February It had to, per the terms of the build grant. So work did start, but heavy construction did not start until the beginning of March. Barricades have been set on the I-35 frontage, Schoolhouse Road, FM 156, and Avondale Haslet Road. You can see those barricades up now. I do see a Zachary truck out there daily checking on them to make sure that they are in place and hadn't blown over anything. March really was working on processing vegetation out of the pathway. The phase 1 work has pretty much every bit of vegetation has been removed and processed now. Topsoil's been removed. The contractor has set temporary fencing for the cattle operations that still continue on in the area. Most of the earthwork has taken place east of Harmon Road and west of I-35. That's where a lot of the major fill is taking place there. And just 2 weeks ago, they started placing the sanitary sewer, starting at Harmon Road and working back towards the west. So we've been inspecting that. I did include a couple pictures of things I've seen out there. The first one is the trench where they're going to put the sewer in. The second one is looking back towards I-35. Shows some alligator cracking in the pavement there. That's a good reason why this intersection needs to be redone with concrete. The third picture is how deep that sewer actually is over there on 35. And then the fourth one is just the vegetation operations where they were taking down trees. They brought out the big tub grinder, ground all those up. So take any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Travis?
I just want to say thank you for the pictures because it was nice seeing that. So thank you.
Sure, I will continue.
I second that.
Progresses.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Okay, on to 9D. North Central Texas Council of Governments is currently seeking nominations for the Executive Board and Regional Awards. Information is attached. I think we have until the end of the month for some and a little bit later for others. Any questions on that? Hearing none, let's go to the consent agenda, the approval of the April 5th, 2021 regular city council meeting minutes. Any comments, corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, this is Hilborn. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Clark seconds.
Clark seconds. Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Let's do a roll call vote. Warren Robb.
Aye.
Harold Williams.
Aye.
Jessica Clark.
Aye.
Patricia Hilborn.
Aye.
Tanya Morrow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. 11, public hearings and action items. 11A, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act on a site plan for a 350,000 square foot warehouse facility located on the north side of Westport Parkway, approximately 0.5 miles east of the Westport Parkway and FM 156 intersection.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is a request for a warehouse distribution center located, as already stated on the agenda. The site is 32 acres in size. On the same agenda tonight, there will be a request for approval for a preliminary plat as well. The property is currently zoned industrial, and the use is allowed by right in the industrial zoning district. Access is made by 3 different drive approaches off of Westport Driveway. They're providing a total of 340 parking spaces, which exceeds our required number of parking spaces by 18. There is one deviation they're asking for on the site plan, and that's related to the landscape buffer that's required along Westport Parkway. Westport Parkway requires a 25-foot wide landscape buffer, and I'm sorry, a 20-foot wide landscape buffer, and they have approximately a little over 1,100 linear feet of frontage along Westport. Due to some constraints on the site, there's about 225 feet of that linear frontage that they are not able to meet the 20-foot wide landscape buffer, so they're only providing a 15-foot wide landscape buffer. However, they have provided additional landscaping, trees, shrubs, ornamental trees, to attempt to make up for that difference. Building elevations have been provided, and they meet the articulation and design requirements of the zoning ordinance. Planning and Zoning Commission did hold their public hearing and did recommend approval by a vote of 5-0. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any general questions at this time? Then I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this site plan? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. On to discussion, consideration, and action on the recommendation. Questions, comments from council? Anyone have any issues with anything? Everybody comfortable with that 15 feet vice the 20? I'm going to take your silence to be that everybody's okay with this, and if that's the case, is anyone willing to offer up a motion then?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the site plan as presented.
Is there a second?
Morrow seconds.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Warren Robb?
Aye.
Harold Williams?
Aye.
Jessica Clark?
Aye.
Patricia Hilborn?
Aye.
Tanya Morrow?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. On to 11B. Hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act on a preliminary replat of Lot 1, Block 1 of the Westport Parkway addition, being a replat of lots 3 through 7, Block 1, Nance Ranch Industrial Park. The property is located on the north side of Westport Parkway, approximately 1/2 mile east of the Westport Parkway and FM 156 intersection. Wes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is a preliminary replat. The property was previously platted as Nance Ranch Industrial Park. That was done back in 1990, but never developed. Since that time, the northern portion, which is not included in this preliminary plat, was replatted and taken out of the Nance Ranch. And so the applicant's asking to come back in again just for the site plan that was recently approved and plat that all as one lot. As a part of this application, the applicant is requesting a variance to the sidewalk requirement along Westport Parkway. That is a common variance that we've been given or that the city has given in the past along Westport Parkway. Planning and Zoning Commission held their public hearing and recommended approval, including the variance to the sidewalk by a vote of 5-0. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any general questions at this time? At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this preliminary replat? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. On to discussion, consideration, and action on the recommendation. Comments, anyone? Kind of sounds like we got started on this, 30-something years ago, and finally it's coming to pass. Well, if no one has any questions or comments and you're comfortable, I would entertain a motion to approve the preliminary replat.
Mayor, this is Councilmember Hilborn. I move to approve the preliminary plat for Westport Parkway addition with a variance from section 3.9 requiring sidewalk along the Westport Parkway.
Is there a second?
Harold seconds.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Warren Robb?
Aye.
Harold Williams?
Aye.
Jessica Clark?
Aye.
Patricia Hilborn?
Aye.
Tanya Morrow?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 11C, discuss, consider, and act upon advertisement of RFB 2021-004 fire station parking expansion.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, this was the site plan that was approved last month. Finished up the engineering plans, got the bid form together, had it reviewed by Rob. We're ready to go to bid now to get information on the to see what we're actually going to get. So I have heard from a couple contractors that there's a concrete shortage right now. So it'll be interesting to see what these bid prices do. The actual price of concrete hasn't gone up. It's just the actual quantity of concrete that's being produced is not as great as it used to be. Lots of projects going around. So this will advertise this week, and then next week it will bid on the 13th of May and be awarded at the June 7th City Council meeting. Staff recommends advertising RFB 2021-004. Any questions?
Any questions for Travis? If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
This is Mara. I move City Council authorize. Sorry, Jessica, do you want to go ahead?
No, you're good.
To advertise and solicit bids for RFB 2021-004 fire station parking expansion.
Clark,
Is there a
second.
second? Okay, Clark seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Warren Robb,
Aye.
Harold Williams, Jessica Clark,
Aye.
Tricia Hilborn.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Aye
11D.
from me as well.
I thought I heard it. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. 11D, discuss, consider, and act on a water purchase agreement for the Alliance Texas Haslet Accessibility Improvement Project. You doing this, Travis?
Yes, that's me. So typically on city projects, such as the one that's in Haslet Park right now, the one that we just completed with John Day Road, construction water charges are waived because you want to avoid a markup on those water rates. So if you put it out there that the contractor pays for water, they put a rate on it. There is a bid item in the specs for vegetated watering. The bid was $285,000. It would only yield $199,000 at metered rates. So two concerns with giving this project no charges for construction water. The enterprise fund purchases water from Fort Worth. This is a big project. This is a big regional mobility project. There would be no way that Haslet could give away water and pay Fort Worth at the same time and have that enterprise fund still be liquid. Then the other concern is the contractor has several projects in the area. If there was all of a sudden free water, there's a potential that water could move from Haslet to other projects. So those are the two concerns. The contractor is working, as I reported earlier in the construction report. They're using water from another source, but they are about to be they would like to use Haslet water. There's hydrants there on Harmon. There's hydrants right at the end of Intermodal, the Caraway portion of Intermodal, and then also the other end of Intermodal. So they would like to use the Haslet water. I talked with the contractor and kind of basically laid out why we just couldn't give out free water. So they're seeking a compromise between not being able to access the water. Like I said, the city is not giving away free water because the enterprise fund couldn't float that. And then the hydrant meter rate, which is, if you've looked at previous presentations, it's one of the higher ones in the area. So the contractor did ask if we could calculate an at-cost rate to charge. That's kind of a difficult task to do. So me and the Public Works Director, David Rogers, got down and looked at the data. The city of Fort Worth charges vary by how much water is taken, which is like the peak day, and then when that water is taken, which is the peak hour. Those two events don't necessarily coincide. Those can be on two separate days. So calculating a daily charge or a monthly charge would be too narrow for the data set analyzed. So we took actually a couple years of data, but we decided on the 2020 data. We had several large construction projects, including Westport CT. We had Intermodal Commerce Park, lots of large construction projects that were using a lot of water. And watercress, all those, the vines, all those that were using water, so we could actually take that peak day and peak hour. The other thing that we considered was a lot of people were home during the pandemic, so a lot more water usage during the day than we would normally see just a peak at night. It was kind of more spread out over the day. And then last year the rainfall was pretty average, so people watering their lawns a little bit more than previous years. So we took that data and sorry, a little feedback there. We took the number of gallons consumed, we took the total cost paid to Fort Worth, and then we divided that out to find a per gallon charge. But in addition to that, there are other expenditures when you deliver water. So operations and maintenance, that includes everything from the pumps to the cleaning of the water tower, the diving inspection every year. There's administration costs. So everything from water department employees working on the system to utility billing goes into that cost, and then the debt service of the city. So the total at cost rate for the city was in 2020 $5.56 per 1,000 gallons. So we had the city attorney draft an agreement which sets that initial rate at the 2020 rate. The agreement also allows for a yearly audit, which the city can demand payment if the rate is higher, or refund the cost if it is lower. If for some reason Public Works Director David Rogers determines that we are in a peak hour or a peak demand, to shut down those operations. And then also it's turning out to be kind of a dry spring so far, so we may go into drought conditions later in the year. So we would have to limit the water that they could draw then as well. As far as the financial impact.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think maybe someone has their mic on and doesn't realize it. I can barely understand you, Travis. Maybe someone in the audience has their mic on and doesn't realize it.
It looks like it has stopped for the moment. Was there anything, Councilmember Hilborn, that you wanted me to repeat?
You said something about Mr. Rogers was going to try to determine, and I think you said if it was during peak hour. I'm not quite sure. Is that what you said? Right. So we have apps on our phone that tell us how much water the system is drawing. So if it's looking like it's a peak hour event, we would get in touch with the contractor and say, hey, don't take water for the next 30 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it would be. That way we don't hit that peak hour charge from Fort Worth. And I think they would be generally agreeable to that as well, because, at the end of the year, the yearly audit, they're going to be responsible for those funds. So, and then I also had mentioned drought conditions. If we go into drought conditions, the city could limit the water draw there. Because we've calculated the at cost rate for the water and also included operations, administration, and debt service, there's a net zero effect to the enterprise fund. So it does accomplish that compromise for this project, this regional mobility project. So staff does recommend approval of the purchase agreement. Zachary Construction has already agreed to it. So that, if you want to know if they've seen it, yes, they have. So be happy to answer questions, and I'm sure there's going to be a couple.
Any questions for Travis? Yeah, I would say you guys want to watch that peak charge, because that impacts the city dramatically if we exceed that for a very long period of time. But it sounds like you're on top of that. Any other questions or comments for Travis? Are we ready for a motion then?
Mayor, I'll do it. I move
ahead.
the city council accept the water purchase agreement with Zachary Construction for the duration of the ATHAIP project, which is the Haslet Parkway, and authorize the mayor to execute the document.
Is there a second?
Clark seconds.
Thank you, ma'am. Clark seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Warren Robb,
Aye.
Harold Williams,
Aye.
Jessica Clark,
Aye.
Tricia Hilborn,
Aye.
Tanya Morrow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 11E, discuss, consider, and act upon a right-of-way donation for the
Mayor
intermodal.
Golden,
Yes,
Mayor
ma'am.
Golden, I'm sorry to interrupt. City attorney would like to comment to a technical difficulty that we've had this evening.
Mayor, this is Rob Alabon. I got an email from Gary Holsey indicating that there were some technical difficulties and he was wanting to speak at the public during the public hearing item, and then was not able to communicate, wasn't able to get anybody's attention or get through. So I wanted to bring that to your attention to see, one, if that technical difficulty has been corrected. I can see Mr. Halsey on the video. Not sure if his audio is functioning or not, but wanted to point that out and bring it to the council's attention.
Do we know what item it was? There's been several public hearings.
Mayor Golden, there was also, I've had more than one person on the chat say that they wanted to speak and they were not heard. And unfortunately, it was on both both public hearings were really the same topic.
So Rob, do you have a recommendation on how to handle this? Do we need to go back to those two items? I mean, action's been taken, but we can still certainly allow the people to have an opportunity to speak.
I think that's acceptable. I think, the technical difficulty, unless we know that it was on our end, which I don't know that we know that. I don't know that we're obligated to go back and do that, but we certainly can do that if those people are able to communicate at this point and the council's wants to do that.
Council have any problems if we go back to 11A and 11B then?
This is Harold. I'm good with it.
Me as well.
Okay, let's go back to 11A. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the site plan?
Hello, it's Gary Halsey. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Maybe that was someone had me muted, because my mic's been unmuted this whole time, as well as other people. Nonetheless, this is the warehouse. I'm sorry, Mayor. Is this the warehouse project?
Yes, it is.
My question. I had a question, and that question is that the city engineer made comment in his summary to the council that this was in compliance with the local government code, and I assume that's with regard to traffic population. I wanted to ask the city engineer, with regard to the local government code, what is this compliance with?
Travis, I think he's talking about me. I don't think he's talking about you. But when I say that the plat is in compliance with the local government code, that means that it's in compliance with the subdivision regs that are inside the local government code that tell how cities can subdivide property. And so they refer to the subdivision ordinance. There's also some timing aspects that they must meet, that the city must meet. And so do you have a particular question in mind, or is it just in general to the local government code?
The local government code's pretty thick. I just wanted to ask with what respect that it was in compliance. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So are you good on that then, Mr. Halsey?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Do you or someone else want to go to 11B? Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this public hearing on 11A, the site plan?
Mayor, I know that there are others out there, but I don't know if they're connected yet. Or maybe if someone could check to see if they're unmuted.
I'm not sure about.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Mayor, this is Diana Buchanan. I, in particular, the only other person that sent me a message is the initials S as in Sam, G as in good.
I've got mine unmuted if anyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm concerned about this warehouse and understanding how that's going to affect traffic. I mean, traffic is horrendous right now. So if we bring another warehouse in that close to the city,
Can I stop you just a second, please, ma'am? Would you please identify yourself and give us your address just for the record? Don't mean to be impolite.
Stephanie Grace, 1406 Poppy Drive.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Continue. Thank you.
So how will this warehouse, my concern is traffic. Traffic is, is terrible with bringing more 18-wheelers coming through Haslet. How is that gonna be solved? Adding another warehouse.
Mr. Mayor, are you wanting me to respond, or?
Well, was there a requirement for a traffic impact analysis on this site?
Travis would be best to answer that question. I'll go ahead and defer to Travis.
Okay, so their trips per day did not exceed the 2,000 trips per day, which is the limit. I'm just looking through their submittal right now to see if they did include a traffic impact analysis. As we've discussed several times tonight, we do have a new roadway coming in that will hopefully solve some of the traffic problems in the area. But they were not required to submit a traffic impact analysis.
Then can we request that before we make a decision?
That if council so desires on the final, because there'll be a final plat that comes through. Is that correct, Wes?
Yes, that is correct.
Would it then be too late to go back and make another decision than what you've already made? If that traffic impact analysis shows that's detrimental?
I may have to ask the city attorney a question here. If the subdivision ordinance sets a limit of trips per day and they've proven that they're not exceeding that, can the city require a traffic impact analysis on top of that?
Yeah, that's going to be problematic. I think if our ordinances don't require it, then I think the submittal otherwise meets our requirements, and at least with regard to the plat, then approval of the plat is a ministerial act if it meets all of our requirements. Unlike a zoning decision where there's discretion in decision making. So if it's not required by our ordinance, we can ask, but I don't know that we can mandate. Does that make sense?
Then can we table it until we find that out?
Well, we've already asked them to do the traffic impact analysis questionnaire. And my understanding from what Travis has stated is that their questionnaire did not generate the required amount of trips per day to require the TIA. So I'm not sure why we would table anything.
Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against this site plan? Okay, I'll reclose the public hearing. Any further comments? Does council want to readdress this? It's to me, it sounds like they're in compliance with our ordinances, and I'm not sure what we gain by asking them to do the TIA. If they're not exceeding the 2,000, I would assume, based on that the traffic impact analysis is going to show less of an impact than what would warrant us requiring anything.
Whether you know my story or not, to pause and listen.
This is Joette Keene, 1410 Poppy Drive. Can I just ask a question? Is that a self-reported analysis that they do of what they're projecting they will remain within? And how is that enforced?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, would you restate your name and address?
Sure. Joette, Joette, last name Keene, Keen, 1410 Poppy Drive.
Thank you.
So, do you understand my question? These are, it sounds like this was a questionnaire they completed and said this is what they were going to be complying with, surely knowing what the ordinances were. And so that would make sense that they would say they were complying with that. What type of enforcement is there, and what is your recourse if they aren't compliant with that and our traffic is significantly increased?
Travis isn't on muting, so I'm going to try to answer this, and then maybe Travis can. Okay.
In Wes, so the worksheet is based on trips generated from this type of facility. It's numbers from the International Association of Transportation Engineers, ITE. They're the ones that put these numbers out there. I may have that acronym wrong, but it's ITE numbers. The 9th edition of the manual came out a couple of years ago. It significantly increased numbers for distribution facilities from the 8th edition. So I know that they did take that into account. The other thing that I can add is every traffic impact analysis that I see, once you add background traffic, it shows that they're not causing an extra impact. And that is simply due to location of where Haslet is. So that's what I can add to tell council.
Thank you, sir. Okay, to you, council, do you want to reconsider the previous action or leave it stand as is?
Mayor Golden, this is Diana Buchanan. I actually believe that it would require a motion and a second to reconsider and a vote in the affirmative. Rob Alabon, is that correct? Before they could even consider it again?
Yes, if council wants to reconsider it, I think those would be the appropriate steps if they wanted to change the motion that had been previously made. This item after reconsidering those comments.
This is Councilmember Morrow. I don't see a need to reconsider the motion personally.
This is Harold. I agree with Tanya.
As the Mayor Pro Tem, I also agree. And, the fact that the city has put together a coalition to spend $68 million to install a new 4-lane highway will definitely eliminate considerable amount of that truck traffic. And then in 2025, the state's going to come along and expand 156. And then, the federal government in Texas is expanding 35 just to the east. So I think, and oh, by the way, the 156 design is to include traffic projected for 2050. So I think this warehouse is insignificant contributor And it was probably, the Haslet Parkway will be completed before this building is probably in business. That's my opinion.
Okay, then let's go to 11B. If there's anyone who, I'll reopen the public hearing for 11B, which is the preliminary replat. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the preliminary replat?
No, not I.
Hearing no other, I'll close the public hearing on 11B and we'll go on to 11E. Echo. Discuss, consider, and act on a right-of-way donation for the Intermodal Parkway.
All right, this is in association with the previously approved Sweetgrass development. The property owner that sold wanted to retain a couple parts of the property. So they have, sorry, my computer just messed up. They have, as part of the condition of them selling, have donated the right-of-way for Blue Mound Road and Intermodal Parkway. This is on a standard agreement for the city. And with that, I'll open any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Travis? If everyone is comfortable, someone make a motion?
This is
Mayor,
Harold.
I'm sorry, Harold, go ahead.
I move to accept the right-of-way donation deed and authorize the mayor to sign the document.
Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem seconds, I think, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Warren Robb,
Aye.
Harold Williams,
Aye.
Jessica Clark,
Aye.
Tricia Hilborn,
Aye.
Tanya Morrow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 11F, discuss, consider, and act to schedule a special city council meeting on Wednesday, May 12th, 2021 to canvass the results of the May 1, 2021 general election.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. We are looking at having a special city council meeting to canvass the results of the May 1 general election. Tarrant County Elections has requested that entities not canvass prior to May 11th and canvass either on May 11th or 12th so that to ensure that the election results are available from Tarrant County Elections. And what we have done in the past is have scheduled a special meeting. A quorum of only 2 regular members is required to canvass the vote. And then we have issued the certificates of election at that meeting. And then when we go to the next regular meeting, we have administered the oaths of office and the statement of officer. I did receive correspondence from Mr. Halsey regarding this matter, and he did ask Mayor Golden if he could address council regarding this.
Mr. Halsey?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Diane will attest to this, is that the local government code section 22.036 is written in a manner to install the new governing body if there's such, well, actually anybody that's going to be reinstalled here as soon as possible. It's written in those terms. Also, the Secretary of State with regard to the election urges that this all be done as soon as possible and possibly at this same meeting. Since the vote will be canvassed, the certificates will be issued. The only thing left is to administer the oath of office, and that's another 10 minutes. So I would urge the council to do that on May 12th, please.
And Mayor and Council, staff can accommodate that arrangement. It's primarily, I think in the past, the reason we've done this is because, at a regular meeting, we have a bigger audience. Usually more members are present for the meeting, but, there would be no problem as long administering the oath of office as long as, those that have been elected are present on that date. So I do recommend that we go ahead and schedule the special meeting for Wednesday, May 12th at 7 p.m. With the agenda to be set at that time.
This is the Mayor Pro Tem. Just one question. If for a canvass of election, it's a special condition, you only need 2 members. But to conduct other business, do you not need a supermajority?
Yes, you do for a
Yeah.
special meeting.
Yes, that's correct.
I would like for Rob Alabon to weigh in on this. You do not need anybody other than the city secretary or the mayor to administer the oath of office. There has to be no council meeting.
That's correct. The oath of office can be administered basically at any time, as long as it's done by the correct people. So it doesn't have to even be done at the council meeting.
And so council, again, it is no problem for the oaths to be administered at this special meeting as long as the winners of the election are present. And then if they're not, then we could just bump them down to the regular meeting for their oath.
Okay, Rob, this is the mayor. To the Mayor Pro Tem's point, I thought he was correct when he said that there's only two council members required for the canvassing, even though it's a special meeting. Special meetings typically are a supermajority, as has been stated, which would be 4 council members. So can you clarify, do we just need 2 folks for that meeting, or do we need 4 because it's a special meeting?
The local government code provision that's been referenced specifically says only 2 are needed in order to canvass. That's a special rule that trumps the normal rule that this is a special meeting that would require a supermajority in order to conduct that meeting. So only 2 are required to canvass. However, that's just for canvassing. So I think, as the Mayor Pro Tem alluded to, if we have other business to tend to on the agenda on that special meeting, I think we would need a supermajority to conduct any other business other than canvass if we only had 2 people there. Make sense?
The supermajority is not required for administering oaths.
All right, so my question is administering oaths considered other business?
I don't think, as I mentioned before, there's no requirement that the oaths even be administered at a meeting. So that could take place at any point, unless Diana, I'm not missing something there, am I?
No, that is correct. Technically the oath can be administered in my office. So you don't have to have a supermajority or a majority. We can do the oaths at that special meeting if there's only 2 regular members there with making the quorum for the canvass.
So tonight you basically just need us to schedule the special meeting, and then everything else can take place, the agenda at a later time?
Yes, that's correct. And again, we'll just, we can list on there the oath of office to be administered, and then the elected officials that are present can take their oath and statement, and those that are not can do it at the next meeting.
So I guess we need action at this point on holding the, a motion to schedule the special meeting for Wednesday, the 12th, to canvass the results.
This is Councilman
Mayor?
Morrow. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Tanya, you win.
Okay, I move to schedule a special city council meeting for Wednesday, May 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. to canvass the results of the May 1st, 2021 general election.
Harold seconds.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Warren Robb,
Aye.
Harold Williams,
Aye.
Jessica Clark,
Aye.
Tricia Hilborn,
Aye.
Tanya Morrow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 11G, discuss, consider an act to excuse mayor and council absences. Anyone have any no coming up?
This Councilmember Clark, I do not believe I will be able to attend that special city council meeting on the 12th.
Okay. Any others? Hearing none, let's go to number 12, executive session. The city council reserves the right to adjourn into executive session during the course of the meeting to seek legal advice from its attorney regarding any item on the posted agenda as authorized by section 551071 of the Texas Government Code. Additionally, pursuant to the provisions of chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, city council may adjourn into executive session in accordance with authority contained in section 551072 Government Code deliberations about real property, property acquisition for Alliance Texas Haslet Accessibility Improvement Project, 167 Avondale Haslet Road. At this time, we'll close the open part of the meeting at 8:30, and I'll see you all in exec. Thank you.
quick.
We just heard the end of what you said, Jim. We didn't hear everything.
I said I try so hard to be the first one back, but you guys are all so fast.
I'm here.
I think we're all here. Let's reconvene the open part of the meeting at 8:45. First up is consider and take any action resulting from executive session. I believe we do have a motion to make.
Okay, this is Councilmember Morrow. I move that the council approve the purchase of the right-of-way needed on parcel 21, 167 Avondale Haslet Road for the ATHAIP project at the negotiated price. Authorize the city administrator/mayor to sign all documents relating to the closing of the acquisition. And authorize and approve the Haslet Community and Economic Development Corporation Type B EDC and/or the Haslet Economic Development Corporation Type A EDC to fund the purchase of the right-of-way.
Or Mayor, before you call for a second on that, just for clarity, like if the title company asks the authority, Councilman Morrow, you need to specify city administrator or the mayor as far as which one's authorized to sign everything.
Which one
Jim,
do I
I saw
need?
you. Jim, I saw you leaning in. Could y'all not hear me?
Yeah, we heard you. So do you want one or the other? Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'd be, yes, sir. One or the other would be preferred so that we have the authority to give to the title company for the closing based on the minutes.
Okay, which one do I need to
Put the
choose?
city administrator on there.
Okay. And authorize the city administrator to sign all documents relating to the closing of acquisition.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I have a question. Are we authorizing either the mayor or the city administrator, or are we only authorizing the city administrator?
My understanding is that the motion was amended to where it's the city administrator.
Okay, I second.
Any further
I just wanted
discussion?
to know.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Warren Robb,
Aye.
Harold Williams,
Aye.
Jessica Clark,
Aye.
Patricia Hilborn,
Aye.
Tanya Morrow.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Future agenda items. Anybody have anything for future agendas? Hearing none, we're adjourned at 8:47. Y'all have a nice evening. Thank y'all for your help.
Thanks. Good night.
Everyone, good night.
Good night, everybody.